This is the DeafBlind Potter Show, and my name is Kelvin Crosby, and I am the DeafBlind Potter. And if you're here to live beyond your challenges, you're at the right spot. So let's go on this journey and live beyond our challenges. Hey, it's so good to see you, even though I can't see you. It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood. My name is Kelvin Crosby, also known as the Deaf-Blind Potter, and I'm so excited that you are here at the Deaf-Blind Potter Show. And today, I got a really cool homesteader today, because what is this month all about? This month at the Deaf-Blind Potter Show, we're focusing on homesteading challenges and how you overcome those homesteading challenges. And I got somebody here today that has faced some serious setting challenges, and he tells some really good stories. And I think you're in for a treat today, with my guest, because he will definitely like make you really think about some of the challenges that you face when you're homesteading, but are ways to overcome. Because isn't that why we're here at the Deaf Blind Potter Show? Is to overcome our challenges. And so, no further ado, Jason from you gotta help me with your tagline.
Seven Kin Homestead. Seven Kin
Seventh and
Homestead.
Homestead. So, welcome to the Deaf Blind Potter Show, man.
Hey, Kelvin, thank you so much for having me.
So we're gonna kind of start here. So you not have not always. I mean, when you first started homestead, you knew nothing really much about it, and you're at this point in your life. You're like, we're gonna do this. So can you kind of tell us that story of what got you guys to want to homestead? Like, how did that even become a mindset of you guys, of yours and your wives, and kind of tell us that story.
Sure. Yeah. So when I guess we'll start from the beginning because that's a good place to start. Uh, so the thing about it was we'd never even heard the word homestead, right? It wasn't even on our radar. After uh, the home crash, the housing crash
Yep.
in 2008,
Okay.
we had essentially lost everything,
Mm.
and it was kind of a humbling experience for me because I went from being relatively successful for a 28-year-old guy to us having to leave Las Vegas and move back in with my wife's mother, and that
Mm.
was a humbling experience. And after about a year or so, we got into our own place, and it was a kind of a crappy apartment in a bad part of town, and but it was where we were living, and we had one child at the time. uh, but then when our second daughter came, we we started looking at our life and went, what is it that we're doing here? And what I found was I didn't like the situation that we were in.
Yeah.
I knew that we needed something different.
Hmm.
And my wife Carrie and I, we started to talk about moving back to Las Vegas because we'd found prosperity there and houses were still cheap. And while she was looking around online, she found this website that offered owner financed raw land that you could build a house on. And I thought, wow, that, doesn't sound like something I'd be interested in at all when she brought me the idea. And
I mean, you got it. She made an immediate honey to do list for you, right?
yeah, right. And I was a city boy, I'd grown up next to the beach. The only other place I'd ever lived was Las Vegas. I loved my technology. I had, everything that I needed. I just didn't like how life was going. And so, you know, as as many men find themselves in the position, when the wife brings an idea and she's like, do you think that we could do this? I did some quick math in my head, and that math was basically, okay, so you're way out of my league. You're a way better person than me. You're way better looking than me. Yes, of course, we can definitely do that. So, um,
So
so
wait,
we,
hold on. So you're saying, I gotta find my microphone. I lost it. There we go. So you're saying that you're you said yes because of the good looks of your wife, and but you had no skills. Isn't that a dangerous situation to be in? 'Cause I mean, honestly, for
potentially,
me, like if my wife asked me to, hey, let's go homestead, and you as a blind man gonna go build this property, I'm like, um, I know how to play with mud. I'm really
yeah,
good with that, and
hey,
I'm like,
yeah.
so
You know,
kind of go ahead.
I say it jokingly, but it is very true. You know, I looked at I think one of the things that's missing in the world right now is people hearing a goal from someone they love and doing everything they can to support that goal. You know, and this was something that she was like, I think it would be amazing, and I said, well, I think you're amazing, so let's go have an amazing life together. We'll figure it out. You know, and I was an electrician, so I had some skills, but not anything that I would find out very shortly after was of any use um, for the first year or so that we were out there. Um, so essentially, what we did was we needed $300 to put the down payment down on our property. We didn't have $300 at the time. Life was very, very expensive for us at the time.
Mm.
And so we decided to have a yard sale. We had a yard sale. We made almost exactly $300, and we put the money down on the property that she found that we both really liked, but we only saw it in pictures because it was 14 hours away from us.
I mean, that's a kind of crazy thing, just to up and leave to something you just took a picture of. I mean, and that just doesn't. There's
Yeah,
something going on there. Like I'm like, Jason, how good looking is she to get you to go
like, well,
just
if you saw us
blindly
together,
into this
you'd go, "Are
property?
you even?" Yeah, if you saw us together, you'd ask yourself whether or not we were even in the same species. So,
Yeah. What's fun is that your wife is just she seems like this like laid back. It's like, hey, let's just chill. Let's
yeah,
enjoy what we need to do, get some things done. And you're like, I gotta provide for my family. I gotta get this done. I gotta do
yep,
this. And and I just
yep,
love it. And
yep.
so kind of explain to us. All right, so your good-looking wife is telling you, and you said yes to her good looks and to this unknown property that you never seen in your life, and
Yep.
you know nothing about homesteading, and you quickly learn that your electrician skills are going to come to useless service for you,
Yeah.
and so and you get into some weird vehicle.
Yeah. Well,
It,
there's actually more to the story at the beginning. So,
okay, okay, continue
what?
then.
Yeah. What we did after we put the money down on the property, and we were totally unsure of really anything, but we just knew we had a purpose, and we were going to put all of our actions into accomplishing that purpose. So we looked around at our stuff. We knew we were going to need some money. We didn't have anything. We didn't have a tent, we didn't have any camping gear or anything else like that. Um, so we decided, well, the yard sale worked. Let's try and sell everything else that we have that doesn't sound like it's going to come in handy out in the middle of the woods. And we'll
So
just
stay tuned. When we come back, we're gonna dive into this journey and how Jason becomes a homesteader.
yeah.
See you on. Hey! It's Kelvin here, and I want to tell you about my podcast, the Perseverance Podcast, where you as an individual can hear individuals persevere through their challenges that they have faced in their life. For example, the most famous Chippendale stripper and the number one porn star in the world literally transformed his life and now is rescuing people from this industry and helping them find purpose in their life. Also, Casey Marsh, where she had a baby born without a brain and how she went through that grieving process. And lastly, one that's really fascinating is about Spencer Renfro, where he died and came back to life after driving 140 miles an hour. But when he died, he didn't come back alive the same. So you gotta go check out the Perseverance Podcast at perseverancepodcast.com and hear these stories and how people persevered through their challenges. Like I always say, go live beyond your challenges and go to perseverancepodcast.com. Hey, so good to see you, even though I can't see you. I have Jason here, and he's talking about his journey to becoming a homesteader. Okay, why are we focusing on homesteaders this month? Is because homesteaders have to live beyond challenges, and I think it's a really interesting way to think about challenges in life from a homesteading standpoint. So, Jason getting right into the story of them getting ready to take on the journey of homesteading. So, Jason, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, so we decided to just sell off everything else that we had, all our furniture, all our electronics, and anything we had that was worth anything. Uh, a car that was hardly worth anything, and we managed to come up with enough to buy a little 22-foot camper and an old beat up SUV with a four-wheel drive SUV. We thought we're going to need a four-wheel drive. Um, so 34 days after we put the down payment down, we got in the truck with our two little kids, and we drove off into the woods. And so we arrived on the property. It was about 14-hour drive, and we arrived here in the middle of the night. And back then in 2012, that's when this was. The GPS technology wasn't all that good, and I didn't know if we were even on our property. It was pitch black. I couldn't see anything, and we went to go to sleep. And this was my very first experience of homesteading. Carrie moved some stuff outside and put it under the awning, and we went to go lay down and go to sleep. And I couldn't sleep a wink. I mean, I couldn't sleep. Every noise, I could hear every bug that had something to say, every rustling in the bushes, squirrels running up and down. I hadn't been camping since I was like 10, and
Wait, hold on. So you haven't been camping since you're 10, and you're in your 30s now, and you're homesteading, and you just arrive in the middle of nowhere. Like, you sure you're on the right track for yourself?
Yeah. Well, I have the benefit of hindsight now, but at the time I didn't know what I didn't know. So I think at that point, let's see, in 2012 I was like 31 years old, and so in my mind I had everything figured out and could solve any problem. Little did I know, but we'll get into that in a bit. So I hear this thud under the trailer, and then I hear this rummaging around, and then I hear the stuff that's outside get knocked over, and I'm convinced it's a wolf or a bear or something. I have absolutely no way to defend us except for a little aluminum baseball bat, and I'm hanging out, and I'm just like ready. If that bear opens the door, I know it's a bear. It's got to be. We're in the woods in the Pacific Northwest. It's the only thing that could be making that noise. And all night I stayed up waiting for that bear to open that door. And it in the morning.
So did your kids sleep just like a champ, and your wife?
The wife and kids were out like a rock. They slept like a rock. I'm just like white knuckling it, biting my fingernails, stretching, just, you got to limber up in that situation. So anyway, the morning comes, the first light, and I'm like, I look out the window and I see this just absolutely beautiful property that we found ourselves on. I mean, it was way better than the picture. And but all I could do is I needed to know what it was that made that noise. And I walked outside and I'm looking at the tracks and I find a set of tracks, and uh I couldn't identify it exactly, but I figure it was either a rabbit, a squirrel, or a small bird.
So you lost your sleep to a
Yeah,
rabbit or a small animal that wouldn't have even hurt you.
yeah. I had I was so ill prepared for this, for the things that I needed to do to not just survive, but to get to the point where I'm at now. And
Yeah.
that was the story all the way up to our first night on the homestead.
So basically, you went on good looks of your wife,
Well,
saying blind.
let me stop you there, because she's also a way better person than me. So, and way smarter, like way smarter. So,
Well, I think, I mean, we've seen that in some of your TikTok videos that she's
yeah,
a lot more intelligent than you,
yeah,
and
just
and in a
significantly.
lot of ways she whipping you into shape, saying, "Hey, sir, Jason, you really should." I know that's an interesting idea, but that's a little too much there,
Yeah, well,
sir.
that came later actually, because once we were there, I had these wild ideas of the things that I needed to do to make sure that I kept us safe and kept us, fed, and our food didn't go bad, and all these different projects that I was going to do. And she was like, okay, she wanted to enjoy the property and travel around and see all the different things that were on the land and the rock outcroppings, and like really get to know the land. And I was like, nope, we need a root cellar. I'm gonna dig into the side of that mountain over there until we have a big enough place to store our food so it doesn't go bad. And she's like, well, we have a refrigerator. Like, but okay, you know,
And
like I said,
so,
way smarter too. I punch above
so
my weight class.
so basically, the first night that you guys are there, it was kind of a situation, but you realize the beauty of the land, and it kind of takes us over the next few months. Like, what did you guys have to do to start really getting prepared to homestead and make this your life?
Yeah, well, it wasn't for a couple of months that I finally realized, like, okay, I don't actually know what to do. I think I do. I thought I did. I thought everything that I was working on was of value. Turns out, what I was really doing was trying to convince myself that I wasn't completely useless by doing these things that I knew I could do. Um, and so trial and erroring my way through, you know, a bunch of useless projects that were not helpful to anyone. And that's when Carrie finally said, "Listen, we need to like figure out the basics, right?
Mhm.
We need to you know work out the bathroom. We need to work out a shower. We need to like these are the things we need to be working
Yeah.
on." And you know, the other thing that I haven't really talked about much is that within the first 3 weeks or so, my wife is a musician, and within the first 3 weeks or so, um, she was looking on Craigslist and found a music teacher position that
Okay.
was open at a small rural school. They had like 15 students, right? So they needed
Hmm.
a 1 day a week music teacher. And then another school contacted her and said, "Hey, I know you're like 30 minutes away, but would you come and teach here 2 days a week?" So by this time, uh, you know, a month or so into the whole thing, she had started. Actually, it was about 2 months because it was after summer break. 2 or 3 months.
Uh-huh.
She had started working. So not only was I doing all of these things and trying to figure it all out, she was working, and I was figuring these things out with the 2 kids on the property, right? So I mean, just an absolute, I don't think I had ever felt so incapable in my life, right? Um, and and it was a humbling experience because that's when I learned the most powerful sentence in the English language, and that is I don't know.
Yeah.
And from that point, I was able to learn what I needed to learn. Um, yeah. So up to that point, is there any questions or anything you want to talk about?
Yeah.
Because
So, well, I mean, I
it
think
goes in
what's
a different
interesting,
direction.
yeah. Well, because what's interesting is I didn't know some of this stuff, so I'm glad we're able to dive into some of it. So
Yeah.
basically, the way I look at it, you're a stay-at-home dad now,
Yeah.
and you got how old was your oldest at this point?
Let's see. When we got out there, she was 2.5, so she would have been like a little older than 2.5,
And
and we had a
and
6 month old. Yeah.
oh brother, so
Yeah.
and you're that visual is hilarious. Thinking about the way you have described your homesteading experience, is like, and your wife is going twice a week going to teach music lessons, and
Hmm.
with all your ideas, and you're left with taking care of your two girls, and
Yeah.
you're like, I mean, I know as a man,
Yeah.
like, oh, I would be trying to do everything,
Yeah.
like, well, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna take care of my girls, my, and I'm gonna do this,
Right.
and
And that's how it played. I mean, that's exactly right. I had these ideas that if I didn't do this, then I was definitely not the provider, the protector.
yep.
Um, I needed to do them to give myself some kind of self-worth, right?
Yeah. Well, in a lot of ways, that's what men are designed to do, is to be the
Yeah.
protector and the warrior for our family.
Right.
And I mean, it's one thing I have really struggled with, losing my vision, is being the protector of my home and my wife and my foster kids that we raised, and being that, like, how do I still do that and
Hmm.
working through all those emotions and feelings and still being a provider.
Right.
And I mean, you're facing this at this moment, and kind of talk about, um. So this is all happening, and so you're realizing, all right, well, you need to step back and now take instructions. Kind of take us into that direction, and how you and your wife had to start working together as a team rather
Yeah.
than you doing your ideas and her doing her ideas, and you guys kind of came together to start building your homestead.
Right. Yeah. Well, that whole experience up to that point taught me a very valuable lesson, and that is that uh, if you're going to do anything that requires teamwork, right,
Hmm.
in your relationship, you have to kind of like come together and pick a goal that you can both align to, and it's almost magical what happens when you do that.
Hmm.
uh, because right after that, that whole conversation that we had, and I had to clutch my pearls and kind of gasp a little bit, because I thought I was doing an okay job at that point. And so I sucked it up and was like, okay, I don't know what to do. Let's see what we can do to figure it out. And I happened to see about a half mile down the road, there was a you would call him my neighbor, I guess, but he's
Hmm.
pretty far away.
Okay.
Was having a yard sale. It's a common theme in our first year, yard
Okay.
sales. So he's having a yard sale, and I went over there just to kind of check it out and talk with him and all that stuff. And there was a gentleman there that I started talking to, and he had lived this way his entire life, right? Like his dad raised him that way. He's, built this amazing, like, he took a mid 60s military truck, a
Mhm.
deuce and a half, a 2.5 ton truck, and built a house on the back of it. And, he had it set up that he could run it off of a gasifier and, off of wood gas. And,
Wow.
uh, like, and I was talking to him, and he's like, well, why don't I come over and I'll see if I can't, give you some direction. So he brings meat over and he brings food over, and we're eating, and he's kind of looking around like, you guys are either going to starve or freeze to death
Yep.
if you don't do something differently.
Well, stay tuned because we're gonna get into Jason's story and how he overcomes homesteading. We'll see you on the other side. This time. Have you ever wondered, without your vision, how you would cross the street? I am the deaf-blind Potter. I've been hit by a car 3 times in my life. It's said that 87 million people in this world will have the same experience as I have. But I started working on a solution to help solve this problem of blind individuals from getting hit by a car. It's not a perfect solution, but it's a solution that allows you to see me from 100 yards away. It's called the See Me cane, the lighted blind cane. The See Me cane is simple to use. It has an on and off button, a vibration button that tells you that the light is on or off, and it has magnetic charging on the top. And it feels just like a normal blind cane. I need your help to donate to the See Me cane, so that way those that are visually impaired can get a See Me cane and live beyond their challenges. Go to seemecane.com to donate today. Like I always say, go live beyond your challenges. Hey, Calvin here, the Deaf Blind Potter. You're here at the Deaf Blind Potter Show, and we're at the bottom of the hour, and we're going to work our way on up, and we're going to continue learning how to overcome our homesteading challenges. And, well, not my homestead. I still live in the city. It's a dream one day to get out and become the deaf blind homesteader, but well, we'll see. Well, we're going to continue this month of me homesteading education. We're going to call this the Homesteading 101, and for the deaf-blind Potter, and see if this is a valuable option for me or not. But I'm telling you, after you listen to Jason's story so far, I'm like, I don't know if this is a good idea for me. And so, Jason, so you're now got this well homesteaded man coming to your house that you met at a yard sale, which then I have questions. Why would you bring somebody from a yard sale to your house? But again, maybe that's
Hey, I needed
different
help.
in yeah, and well then you ask this, like here in the city, if you brought somebody home from your yard sale, I'm like, you got questions, you know. But I would say maybe in the mountains, maybe they're more nice. So let's hear your story about that and kind of tell us the journey on that.
Yeah, he so I think I'd start by saying that he basically taught me everything that I needed to know to be able to be successful at this. But it started with putting in a wood stove, and how to make it safe, and all of those sorts of things. He even took me to a junkyard to go get an old wood stove because we didn't have the money to buy a wood stove.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you know, taught us about food preservation, taught us about, how to protect the uh, the homestead, how, got me a job on a buffalo ranch doing fencing, and I learned a lot more there. And then
Hold on. So
yeah,
fencing, like sword fighting. Again, this is a city boy asking questions. So
not,
I mean, are
not
you
not
sword?
not fencing like sword fighting, like
Can
actually
I?
building fences.
Oh, fences. Okay, see, this is the beauty of me being deaf, is that I can't always hear all the words. You know, that makes it more entertaining. The best one I got is when I was my wife. She cracks up at me for me mispronouncing what I heard, and like there was one time, they had those envelopes that you put paper in, and I always called them vanilla envelopes because I
Oh,
thought the vanilla, like, oh,
yeah.
vanilla could be that color, right? Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense. No, it's
It would be like
manila with
vanilla
an M.
bean.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh man, I've been doing that for years. I've even gotten on the stage and saying vanilla envelope. Like, what's a vanilla envelope? No, it's a manila envelope. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, so you're building fences for buffalo. That must be some beefy fencing.
Yeah, it was actually quite beefy. It taught me a lot. It taught me how to keep yourself safe around big animals too. Anyhow, the biggest thing that I got from him was, one, he was a great friend and he helped us with basically every problem that we had. And but the concept that I learned from him that I was missing was, you, homesteading is about systems, right? It's about setting up the right systems that will take care um, of your shortcomings, that'll give you the power to overcome your shortcomings, but will also play to your strengths. And it's figuring out for you what the right systems in the right order are to be successful at this lifestyle. And
Interesting.
what a lot of people get wrong is they go, I move out to the woods, first thing I got to do is get animals.
Mm.
Right? I got to put in a garden, I got to do all these things. No, 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 no. The first phase of homesteading, if you want to be successful at it, is about putting in the right systems. And I think it's very interesting that you want to try homesteading, because it's and anything that I could do to actually help you to figure out what systems to put in at what order to make it possible for you. I think that would be a very interesting challenge for me, because this is 12 years gone by. When
Yep.
we first moved out here, I couldn't start a campfire. Um, you know,
But do tell that story real quick, because that story is
oh man,
hilarious.
I'm out there. I remember my grandpa had taught me how to start a campfire. I was a little kid, maybe 6 or 7 years old, and he used the teepee technique, right, which is like to build up the wood and the campfire itself in the shape of a teepee. And so I'm out there gathering sticks and twigs and the paper that we had and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm going to start. This is our essentially our second day there. It's our first full day, and I'm trying to start a campfire, and it took like an hour and a half of failing and restarting it and it smoking out and restarting it and restarting. And finally, I was just like, okay, I've got a map gas torch. So I dig through all
Go
my
big or
stuff.
go home.
Yeah, exactly. I dig through all my stuff and I find this map gas torch and I just click it on and I set it at the bottom of this campfire and I just let it go until the dang thing, starts burning. And finally we got this fire going, and I can honestly say I've eaten at some amazing restaurants in my life.
Yeah.
Not one meal in my life has ever tasted as good or has been as satisfying as the hot dogs that we roasted over that very first fire. It was hard earned, and uh, so it was pretty amazing. But that's what I mean. 12 years later, I could probably survive anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many places that I couldn't. And so it's just setting up things in the right order to take care of you and your family and save you time. Then you get into animals. Then you
Yeah.
get into gardening.
I mean, it's really interesting the way you have put it. It's kind of similar to Stacy's from last week or 2 weeks ago, where she has processes that and why she has these different animals that she has to take care of her forest that their family is in. And their shelter wasn't their first priority. Their
Mm,
first priority was to make sure the land had a process so that they can maintain it. I'm like,
yeah.
interesting. This is not something I really have thought about. And I think this is a really interesting perspective in how to live beyond your challenges. I mean, I mean, let's just kind of relate it back to myself right here. See, if you've been following the DeafBlind Potter for a long time, you know that I have not always been this jolly, right? Or just positive. Because I
Hmm.
mean, when I lost my vision at age 19 and wanting to end my life 12 times, that wasn't an easy thing. But it's when God put it in my life and said, I'm going to build processes for you so that you can overcome deaf blindness.
Hmm.
See, that's when joy started coming into my life. And what's interesting about homesteading, I'm starting to realize there are so many spiritual components, but also life lessons with the. But when we come back from the break, we're gonna dive into how Jason moves through the processes. See you on the other side. Hey there, this is Calvin here, and I want to tell you about DeafBlindPotter.com. Well, what are you going to get there when you arrive? You're going to see me, and you're also going to have the experience of all the pottery behind me, the pottery that's in the kiln, all of those experiences where you're going to see mugs, you're going to see heart bowls, you're going to see vases, you're going to see pots, you're going to see bowls. And you can go ahead and purchase it there, and I'm going to get it to you as soon as I can. So that way you can have the experience of feeling the tactile experience of a deaf-blind potter piece. Did you know those 3 rings on every piece of mine? The first ring represents joy. The second ring represents the perseverance that you're going to have to face in your life. And third is the character that you have to build when you find joy in your pain. And the whole piece is your hope to keep moving forward. Like I always say, go live beyond your challenges, because that's exactly what I want you to do when you have the tactile experience, when you feel a deaf-blind potter piece. So go to deafblindpotter.com and get your deaf-blind potter pieces today. And while you're there, if you want a shirt, hat, or hoodie, you can also get DeafBlind Potter merch there as well. Like I always say, go live beyond your challenges, and I'll see you just in a second. Hey, so good to see you. Even though I can't see you, it's Kelvin here, the DeafBlind Potter. And you're probably wondering, where am I at in the pottery process on today's show? Well, today I'm making, I don't know what you call this, but it's like a bottle with I don't know. It's a vase of some sort with a lower fat bottom, and it has a narrow neck that goes to the top. And I'm gonna probably do, I don't know what I'm gonna, I'm probably gonna make like a little humps in here in the neck, and that will get it to be a really kind of a cool little like tree looking thing. We're talking about homesteading. So, I got
You gotta
Jason
have tree
here.
looking thing.
Yeah, like kind of like a tree linking thing, right?
Yeah.
So Jason talking about processes, and what I was explaining is how they kind of relate to us as how God has really helped us through my life in helping me build processes of deaf blindness. And what's interesting is that as we're talking about processes of your land, I'm like seeing this really big picture of how important it is. So, Jason, kind of start talking about the processes that you started building into your land to start overcoming this good looking wife that has a lot better qualities than you, and going blind on this property. And you're like, I maybe could be the man that I'm called to be on my homestead. So, start, share with us what that looks like and how you overcame that.
Well, because I was humbled by the experience, and I seeked out mentorship, um, which is really what happened with my friend that I met at the garage sale down the road. he he taught me that concept that you really just need to set up the right systems in the right order, and you'll get there. Um, and so the first thing that he recommended that we focus on was staying warm. At this time, we were going to be moving into winter pretty soon. And that meant wood stove for us because it
Mhm.
was, we had plenty of trees and we had plenty of, fallen over trees and branches and everything. We could keep ourselves warm. So, so you have to look at your situation and go, what is the thing I need right now, and how can I set it up to take care of us in 3 months or in 6 months or in next season. And that's a very important part of homesteading is looking to the future. And
Mhm.
so then it became about security, and safety and security. And so we needed something to fence off the front part of our property because the back part was impassable. So really, we just had to focus on that one section. And we needed to clear all the brush and the tree branches and everything from around our shelter because fire safety is a big deal when you live in the woods. And these are all things I never even would have thought about. I'd have been packing tires full of dirt to build an earth ship because that was the only video on the internet at the time about anything I was thinking of.
Yep.
Which we did start that project and found out that it was not for us. um, so so but then it became like, okay, we've got all of our basics, we've got our shelter, we've got our access to water, we've got access to food, we've got all of these basics in. Now how do we start moving this very primitive basic lifestyle towards something that is more comfortable for us? Right. And this is where people, I really think, make the mistake of they get into the things that are more time consuming,
Mhm.
like animals, like gardening, like trying to put an orchard in on your property. Those things, food independence in general, needs to come later in the process. Um, so we started focusing on things like solar, and my,
Mhm.
my buddy had his whole property was powered by solar. So he helped me locate some used panels and some, a cheap set of batteries and some inverter and all of that kind of stuff, the electronics that go along with it. And all of a sudden we had a little bit of electricity. We could keep the lights on at night. We could charge our tablet, we could do all kinds of fun things. And then, it was all right. We need to get a better water system going. So we put in a better water system. We had running water all of a sudden. Like we put all of these systems in that allowed us to live a relatively modern life, right? And the thing about it was it made it so that the things that were time consuming before were no longer time consuming.
Mhm.
And I look at it like this: if a dollar won't buy you tomorrow what it bought you yesterday, then what you should be investing in is time. You should be saving time. And so now we have everything that we had in the city. We have, high speed internet. We have plenty of electricity. We have backups to backups to backups of every system. Um, and now it's our big goal for this year is food independence. That's
Mhm.
12 years into the process, right? Um, and so we've 5x the size of our garden. We grew like tomatoes and that kind of stuff in the past, and we even ran pigs before. That's where I learned the lesson that you really, you think you're ready for animals and you're not. um, and so we have our laying hens. We're adding this spring. We're adding hogs. We're adding meat birds and probably rabbits, because it's just those are very sustainable calories that on
Mhm.
our small property. It's a 3.5 acre property, um, so it's not a massive homestead. So you want to make as many calories as you can per square foot,
Mhm.
and it's now gotten to the point where like I said, we have everything we ever had in the city and more. Um, and we've, because this philosophy was generated early in the homestead, it got to a point where we work for money about 2 to 4 hours a week. That's what it costs us to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we do what we enjoy with the rest of our time, which is making videos and helping people with their homesteads, and telling stories about all of the colossal mistakes that I've made living this lifestyle, and how I learned the lessons that I talk about. And it's that's even more humbling, because you do get a lot of
Yeah.
people like, "What? I
Well,
can't
stay
believe that."
tuned. When we come back, we're gonna help you kind of understand how you can reach out to Jason and also find where you can get his homestead and stuff. So we'll see you on the other side. Hey there, it's Kelvin here, and I want to hear from you. Are you living beyond a challenge right now, or are you trying to live beyond a challenge? I want to be here for you. I want to walk through this journey with you. I want to encourage you to find joy in the challenge that you're facing and help you persevere by taking that step and building the character that has hope. And by doing that, it's going to change your life. So I need you to email me at contact@deafblindpotter.com and tell me about your challenge. And together, we will live beyond your challenge. I will walk through you with your journey, and possibly you might come on my radio show or my podcast, and we will work through it, and even my fans will help you as well live beyond your challenges. But most of all, we need to work on you first before anything else, so that way you are successful in living beyond your challenges. So that is contact@deafblindpotter.com, and you can email me there, because I'm the only one that checks that email, and it's all confidential. Like I always say, go live beyond your challenges, and I'll see you in just a second. Hey, it's so good to see you, even though I can't see you. It's another beautiful day in the neighborhood. So, Jason, so that way we don't lose the time here, where
Mhm.
can people get a hold of you if they would like some support from you? Have you coached them through homesteading stuff? Where would they want to go to get a hold of you?
So our biggest platform is TikTok. We have about 600,000 followers on TikTok. We're on YouTube and also Facebook.
Sounds good. So all that stuff will be in the YouTube, the Rumble, and the deafblindpottershow.com for you to go find Jason. And I always blank on it's
7 Kin Homestead, because we have
seven
5
kin.
kids. Yeah,
Yeah, and seven total, and then the whole king. Yeah, I got it, but I just
yeah.
it's just not sticking in my head. So
I understand.
um, so I guess my question to you is, so now you're at a point. Actually, I'm curious. I'm on the hog thing because, like, did they run you over, or could you just kind of knowing some of your mistakes that you've made? Like, tell us a little bit about that hog situation that you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Well, the thing about hogs is they're really smart when it comes to escaping,
Mhm.
and they want to get out. I spent most of my time while we had those pigs chasing them down and using food to get them to come back into their pens. And so it was just a failure to build in the right system to keep the pigs in their pen.
And um, did I've heard that like pigs are quite the challenge, and,
Yeah.
they definitely have their own challenges. So now that your goal now is you taking care of your structure,
Hmm.
and you've built that process up, and now you're taking care of your food. And um, so like for somebody like myself, what would you recommend to kind of start working on in first thing when you get on that property? And like, do I go running for water or do electricity, build a shelter? Like, what are some key things in the first probably 3 months that's if you had to do this all over, you would give somebody advice to say, hey, you need to start this process?
I would actually start in a completely different direction. So one, getting used to your land and knowing like how the sun hits any particular area on your land at what time of the year is more important than most people will ever imagine, especially if you're off grid, if you have to make your own power. So there's your hierarchy of needs is water, shelter, food. But most people, when they go out to a homestead, they're going to buy all their own food at the store still. They're going to have a camper or a shed to home or a home already there. So shelter's taken care of, and water's kind of the same deal, right? They'll have a well, or they'll have they'll just go in and buy water to drink. So really what you need to start with is safety and security, right? So safety is making sure that if a forest fire happens, that it's not going to burn down your structure with you and it's sleeping in the middle of the night. Security is making sure you got a fence and a gate. We failed to do that and had some huge thefts. Like somebody stole our 40-foot fifth wheel.
Yeah.
This was years later, but
Well, if you want to learn more about Jason, you got to go to his TikTok to learn the rest of his stories. Well, that wraps up the DeafBlind Potter show. And I'm so glad that you were here. Like I always say, go live beyond your challenges. And I'll see you next time. That wraps up the DeafBlind Potter show. Thanks for joining me and share this video and encourage somebody to live beyond their challenges so that way we all can persevere through the struggles of life and overcome the challenges and have hope to live beyond our challenges. I'll see you next time.